Hello, hi there. Can everyone hear me? It's been like 2 weeks, so I want to make sure that this is still audible. Welcome to Culture War Games. I am your host, Kat Abagazale. We break down the culture war bullshit from the week. And this week, instead of going with the right, we're going with the left. Because today, 10 Democrats chose to censure Al Green for standing up to Trump during his pseudo State of the Union address the other day. Green said that he didn't have a mandate to cut Medicaid, which millions of Americans rely on: the poor, pregnant women, elderly people, families, the young, the old, everyone. Well, most everyone, especially if you're uninsured, has someone that uses Medicaid to survive. And Trump wants to cut it to help other billionaires like him and Elon Musk profit. And instead of saying, hey, this was an effective tactic, more effective than sitting there in pink jackets and holding signs, 10 Democrats chose to join every Republican in censuring Al Green for being inappropriate. Even Congressman Tom Suozzi said that we should be more deferential, or we should show deference to the president, which is not what I want to hear from the opposition party. So joining me today is my guest, Michael Burns. Michael is a host at Wisecrack. He owes me a pizza, and he's here today. Hi, Michael.
Hey, what's up? How are you, Kat? Thank you so much for having me. First time, long time.
Yeah. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I just put a small child down to sleep, and it's really fun to
You
do
put a
that.
child to sleep?
Yeah, not mine. I found one. But it's fun, having a small child in this world, knowing that any political party that would nominally represent her interest or the interest of working people in general is actively opposed to doing anything to make the world better for her or people like her. So I'm on cloud nine.
Isn't it great? Don't we love it?
We love it. We love it so much. Yeah.
When I got my notification from The Guardian that 10 Democrats joined in censuring, the sound I made in
Tough.
my home was like, all right, like I said out loud, I was like, you can never tell me ever again that like progressives are against party unity, because these people seem to be getting a lot less slack than people like you and me for literally censuring their own member for standing up for the average American.
Yeah, I mean the sort of, I guess, collective cognitive dissonance between the months of, most dangerous candidate ever, America's Hitler, fascism and authoritarianism on the rise, democracy in threat forever, and then the second the dude and his cronies are in power, you're not allowed to do a pretty mellow form of protest from our guy Al Green. Shouts to him. That's where we draw the line. Like destructive authoritarian fascism is one thing, but shaking a cane and saying boo is somehow terroristic in scope. It's really friggin' scary.
And last year, Marjorie Taylor Greene like yelled at Biden during the
Mm-hmm.
most insane parts of the speech, and she wasn't even removed
No.
from the House. In fact, it would have been so much more powerful if everyone went out with Al Green, if they did solidarity with their own, supposed teammate,
Yeah.
in solidarity with like working class people that rely on Medicaid, rather than sitting there with like little signs and their pink jackets. And I know a group of 10 walked out during the speech, and that was planned, and I think that's great, but
I
the
don't.
average American didn't see it.
Okay, so that's the thing. I just the question is, do I respect the motive behind that group of 10 who walked out? Like, sure, I get what they were going for. My eyes rolled out the back of my head through my butt when I read that they compared themselves to those from the student protest movement in the 60s, because it just makes no sense. But like you said, they walked out. No one on TV saw it. So the only people that are even aware that happened are people that are terminally online anyways and are seeing people posting about this. So it's just
Exactly.
like, with all that we've gone through, with the fact that now Trump's been the dominant force of American political life for almost a decade, the most you can muster are little signs, such that like Democratic operatives are criticizing you. Like Simone Sanders Townsend, is that her last name? She went in on these people, and this is not a radical critic of the Democrats. This is a Democratic operative herself. And even she sees that. Stephen Colbert spent time roasting these people for how ineffective it is. And again, Colbert, just a nice liberal shill for the Democratic Party for the most part. It's really sad, and it's kind of scary that this is it.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is this isn't it, because so many people are livid. And I really think there is a chance. I mean, I know that people have been saying this for the past few elections, but there's been this overarching feeling of like, oh, if you try to run against a Democrat, if you try to show like any criticism, even if it's meant to improve the party, you are hurting the party. And you agree
Yeah.
with me on this, is like, we need more than two parties, but this is what we have right now, and like we need
Yeah.
immediate action right now. And at this point, it's like you're damned if you do try to criticize someone, and then if you don't, you realize that even the people that actively stand apart from the party, apart from their own comrades, like they're standing apart from them, and they don't get half as much flack as the people that are like, hey, we could do better, we could improve things.
Well,
It's insane.
yeah. Well, how about the fact that in 48 hours, in the same sort of window, we have Al Green being censured by his own party for a relatively, I don't want to say docile, but like mellow and very, I would say, civil act of protest. They're doing that while 2028 Democratic hopeful Gavin Newsom launches a new podcast, sitting down with friggin' Charlie Kirk, who's out. This is me saying this. No one get mad at Kat if she doesn't agree with this. Who is Nazi adjacent? And
Absolutely.
that's cool. Like, it's
That's
cool
fine.
for the people who want to be the leader of the party to sit down with Nazi adjacent people, because we're opening up the conversation. We got to be a big tent. Whenever they say big tent, that normally means the side of the tent where the Nazis can come in opens up wide, and the side of the tent where more progressive people who might want to push the party towards the left shuts down a little bit. And that's really scary that that's what big tent means.
It's terrifying. It's fucking terrifying. I mean, I learned that at the TNC, being outside and
Yeah.
watching them say like, you're not allowed to have a Palestinian speaker, like literally like discriminating based on race. And I think the thing that makes me just go insane here is, they talked about like the thing that Al Green said to Trump was, you don't have a mandate. And he said specifically, he
Yeah.
was talking about Medicaid, but Trump doesn't have a mandate. I mean, just having a mandate means like, Reagan's second win, like an absolute landslide, popular electoral, like everything. The way you actually get a mandate, none of these people will ever get nowadays, because you need to be working for the working class. You need to be pushing policies that they would see that would help them, that would hurt the excessive profit of corporations and people that rely on donors, that need to that care more about talking to rich people that will max out their donations rather than the dominant small dollar donors that we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah.
It's those types of policies, that type of just like, it's not radical, it's not even left wing. These are basic things that if you don't market them like a complete dumbass, are widely popular.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to get a mandate if you truly want one now.
Well, I know we have a big topic we're going to get into here, but maybe this is relevant now. Thinking about the address to Congress and Al Green and stuff, the Slotkin response to Trump's thing. I mean, that was another big like dying inside moment for me when, you just talked about the importance of speaking to the working class. Like, the language used in response was just sort of this like sort of nostalgia for a past that no longer exists, where there's like a working middle class in the Great Lakes region that goes to the car factory and then goes home to their 2.5 kids. We're talking about how great Ronald Reagan is. We're talking about how America needs to be a superpower, the leader of everything. We're like saying to Elon Musk, like, hey, we like cuts too. We'll do them with you, bud. Let's just do it the right way. Like, the entire response, it just feels really delusional. And again, like, to me at least, it replicates the feeling we had in the last election cycle, where the Democrats are speaking to a group of people that they wish exist, or maybe they delusionally think exist, but doesn't really exist anymore in America. And all you got to do is look at like the economic data to know that there's not really such thing as this magical middle class that represents your party anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have health insurance, like I
don't like that for you.
Yeah, I don't like that for me either. And like,
Yeah.
I have a chronic illness. I have to get medication every month, and every single month I go to the pharmacy and I'm like, I know GoodRx says it's not insurance, but I think it's insurance. I beg to differ. I've had like, especially when I was saying Biden should step down, I had like ride or die blue wave Democrats that were talking about how, being like working, like doing the stuff you and I do, like talking on the internet, like that's the new like aristocracy, and you are the elites here. I don't have health insurance. We don't like I don't
I'm
know about you.
40
I
years
shouldn't speak
old
for
and
your.
couldn't own a house if I wanted to.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
let's
about
be
to say, I
real
don't
with
know
it.
your
Like,
like financial situation, but like,
I know that
no,
I look rich as fuck.
you look so
Wait,
rich.
can we say fuck on this show?
Oh yeah,
I look rich as frick.
you look rich as fuck. It's fine.
No, but like this is I said this on a thing I was on yesterday. But like when you look at it by a certain metric, like I don't know, I'm a 40-year-old white guy with 2 graduate degrees who's been employed consistently for 22, 23 years or whatever. And I couldn't own a home where I live and work if I tried. I couldn't own a home anywhere near here. And and I live in a dual income household
Yeah.
with a wife who's a high powered executive. She's not, she's a poet, but still, um, it's we don't have a middle class if people that do quote unquote all of the right things and work are not in a position to achieve the basic metrics that we associate with success in America. Like if you're unable to have health care, if I can't even pay my student loans down, and who knows what they're going to do with those again. I'm sure many people watching are in similar situations. Like, okay, I see the thing too. It's going to happen. It's going to happen by the end
It
of this
is. It
month. I'm
is. We
going to talk to Kat
promised.
about later. But I just at a certain point, and again, like this is not a new point. Everyone has said this. You have said this, but like people feel like shit. And if you speak to people that feel like shit and tell them, no, you feel good and everything's good, we just got to get it back to the way it was. For a lot of us, we think like, well, when was it good? Because it wasn't great 5 years ago. It wasn't good 10 years ago. It wasn't really that good 15 years ago. Maybe it was good in like the early 90s. Because
Cool. I wasn't even alive.
oh, it was fantastic. Fantastic
Was
stuff.
it? Sounds cool. Sounds sick.
Yeah, all of our snacks were laced with amounts of sugar that could like kill a small horse, but they had like labels that looked earthy, so our parents let us eat them. But yeah, you take over. I'm ranting now. I apologize.
No, please. I mean, ran away. That's. I feel like that's what I do half the time now. Is just like. I think the thing that bothers me the most is being called like naive or an idealist.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need more idealism, and if that's naivete, I'm fine with being called that. I think we need
We
to
love
reach for
idealists.
better.
Yeah, we love idealists when they're dead, right? When the idealists
Yeah.
are dead, we wear T-shirts with them and get tattoos with quotes from them and make biopics about them. Yet while we're alive, and was listening to something yesterday where some historians were talking about this and sort of reminding us that like MLK, people didn't like him a lot when he was alive. The government
Yeah.
didn't like him a lot. A lot of things weren't going his way, especially when he started advocating against the war and for the Poor People's Campaign. But we love to use him as a frame of reference for all these things now. Like idealism, I'm going to sound corny here. Idealism changes the world. Idealism changes art. Idealism changes what's possible with science. Idealism, it makes wonderful things happen in the world. But it's like we want other people to have it, and we want other people to have had it in the past.
Yeah.
But we don't want anyone to have it now, because now's the time. Now that the planet's dying and authoritarianism is rising, now we just got to be practical. Now we got to slow down.
Exactly. We have to be practical now, and it's like we have so much money in this country. It's insane how much money we spend. Like my first stream was with Elizabeth Warren, where she just talked about how the Air Force, I think it's the Air Force, spends like $8,000 per soap dispenser because we just let military contractors like squeeze the fuck out of us. We have so much money that we waste, so much money that we spend on shit that doesn't matter. We could go to the doctor and not be afraid of bankruptcy. We could call an ambulance if we need instead of an Uber. We could afford housing. Like we could keep, these people from buying up all of our houses. We could have public transit. We could do all of this shit. We can. There's nothing stopping us.
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing. We have been trained to feel like we do not deserve things. A conversation I have sometimes with people that are more on the right, I will ask them, like, so do you think like you don't deserve healthcare? Like, do you think you as a person don't deserve to get an education without falling into debt? And like you just pointed out, via your friend, Lizzie Warren, she got shouted out during the Trump thing.
Yeah.
I think that was I didn't watch it because my
I
mental health
watched
is
it
fragile.
and then drank a
But
White
you
Claw.
got to. Yeah, but
and I fell asleep.
like you point out the soap dispensers for the Air Force. I mean, that's like that amount of money exists before we even talk about just like nominally raising the taxes on billionaires. Like if you factor in a level of taxation which would be standard in most of the world, And then you look at some of the money that we're using over there. Of course, the irony being with all this like Doge bullshit, like there are ways to save money. They're not on the ways that you little freaks are doing it. And yeah, they're little freaks. They're a bunch of little freaks running around that office. I'm sorry. And if any Doge boys are watching this, you're little freaks, and I hope you grow up to be not little freaks. But the money is there. And the political will to an extent is there. And to overuse a term that gets misused constantly, it feels like we're being collectively gaslit into being told we can't have things, we don't deserve things, it's not our place to have those things.
I mean, that's how I grew up. Like, I grew up conservative, and I remember thinking, I was like, why don't the poor just save more money? And like,
Yeah.
I realized as I grew up, I was like, oh wow, that's not how that works. And
Yeah.
if people like, everyone should be able to afford housing, healthcare, groceries, like education and childcare,
Yeah.
and have enough money to save, and then also have enough money to like take your kid to the zoo, for you to go to the movies, like to be able to enjoy life. That's just how it should be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to get theological here, and I'm really sorry if there's any, Protestant theologians in the chat, but like heaven's probably not real, right? It might be, guys. It might be. And I'm not saying it's definitely not real. I'm not an annoying atheist, but heaven's probably not real. So this is probably it. This is probably it. And I wish that we could have the sense of thinking like, if this is all we have and this is all there is, I would like for myself and others to at least enjoy this ride with a decent set of conditions and comfort. And, to diagnose the thing a little bit here, there's the big American psychological socio-political sickness is the obsession with the individual and the autonomy of the individual over and against any system of collectivism or thinking about others. And the dirty secret, of course, is that a collective freedom is way more free than individual freedom. Like individual freedom is like, oh, I get to say the R word on X. And collective freedom is sort of like, I can leave my job knowing that I won't lose my health care. I can get an education without being saddled with debt. I don't necessarily have to own a car, which I can't afford and is also killing the planet because I have access to public transportation. Like those things make you free, kids.
And like, even though I don't have healthcare, I've been like really trying to like build my community, and like, especially moving to a whole new place, you realize you're starting from square one. And it's like
tough.
I've talked about this before on stream, but like this women's club that I do every month, it's awesome. We put our phones away and we just like provide. Everyone brings food. Everyone has like cider or tea or something like that. Phones are off, like not even on purpose. It's not like a thing we're annoying about. Just no one checks it. And we like do it together and BS together. And it's awesome because I know I can call any of those ladies if I had like an emergency, and they would watch Heater for me. Or like, I have people in my building. I've been making friends with people in my building that I can call if I have an emergency and need to step out, or if I need a cup of sugar, like it's 1952. Like, it's so there was one place I lived as a kid where like I knew my neighbors, but overall, like especially in high school, I didn't know who my neighbors were. And it's nice to know that, and to also like trust them, to not just be like, oh, are they looking through my window? That shit I've been seeing online, like a lot of like home security stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to be paranoid about everyone all the time. They want you to be. Having this community is so wonderful. More than just the people you immediately know that you have to drive to see.
Yeah. I mean, and again, we don't need to get too in the weeds here, but like if you look at the sort of dissolution of the labor movement in America, if you look at the McCarthy era project to sort of undermine anything that was vaguely socialist or communist, so much of that was like anything collectivist bad, anything that involves organized people, organized workers. Yeah, like any of that is associated with something that's bad. Everything that's good is the thing that's about like free enterprise. And again, it's sort of the, prioritization of freedom for the market at the expense of freedom for communities of individuals who simply want to like have decent lives.
Yeah. That's very well said. Do you want to get really mad about a stupid thing that we both know what it is?
Do it.
Let's fucking go. All right. So some of y'all might have seen this. I posted a video about it because I got so unbelievably angry about this. It was a political playbook on Sunday that talked about this retreat that some people were like, this is Third Way, not Democrats. This was attended by Democrats, Democratic leadership. Third Way is technically like a Democratic organization, but it's like a centrist organization that's focused on like making the Democratic Party more moderate. people give it way too much money. It has tons of banking interests in it. Like they, hate Medicare for all, that type of stuff. But they pretend that they're like the moderate, level-headed, like adults in the room, and they're fucking not. So in February, they had a retreat with Democratic consultants, staffers, electeds, and some party leadership. These were all unnamed. And as you'll see
That's
at the
fine.
top of this, the statements below are not necessarily endorsed by all those attending the comeback retreat, and as agreed to, are not attributed to any individual who participated, which is just cowardice. If you're going to sign your fucking name to it, So we're going to go through this because it's stupid, and I hate it.
Yeah, and we're looking so I'm looking at the right thing. I have the playbook article where it says more than a few stuck out. Is that what we're
I
looking at?
I got this up on here on the screen. Don't worry.
Oh, sorry, I had another tab. Oh my God. Well, you guys, I just want to say this is a real professional operation the cat's running here. So much
This
respect.
is a real professional operation where I always have audio and there's never a problem with it. So in early February 2025, Third Way gathered a group of highly experienced and passionate political professionals to chart the Democratic comeback. As part of this retreat, attendees participated in breakout sessions to deliberate why Democrats are struggling with working class voters. These are the takeaways. So this is why Democrats have a cultural disconnect with the working class. Where do you want to start here?
Oh my God. I mean, I guess we can just go down the list, but I mean, like if I could say one overarching comment, it's so apparent how these people have let their opponents dictate the language and what words mean. So much of this to me feels like it operates within the general like rubric and framework of how people on the right think. So the way that like they say identity politics, what's not said is this is assuming a very specific and very like far right coded version of what that is.
Yeah.
And I think that like that's the thing that makes me really upset going through all of this.
These are all, instead of saying, I know a lot of people said that like the anti-war protesters were the ones that made Harris lose, and it was too many people moved to the right. I don't think too many people moved to the right. I think a lot of people stayed home. And that's, instead of only trying to court people that a lot of them will just like hate you, maybe you should try to talk to the people that stayed home and ask like, why didn't you want to vote for us?
Yeah. Well, and it's sort of like this false problem that the Democrats have had at least since I think, was it 2016 or 2020 when Hillary said something like, if we tax the banks, would it make racism go away or whatever? I know I'm butchering the quote a little bit, but it was during, I think, one of the first Bernie and Hillary debates. It must have been 2016. But like the thing that stands out about that is the way in which the Democrats have tried to basically say like economic justice and equality is one thing, and then, individual rights based on identity are another thing, thus obfuscating the fact that you can tell people like, hey, what is economically best for the working class in general? We can also frame that in such a way that emphasizes that it is better for people of color, it is better for women, without just making it all about like, I guess those sort of like right-wing identity signifiers.
Right. And it's like, as someone that, my entire background is watching Fox News and like following these assholes, and almost this entire document is just regurgitating what these people say, but in a defensive way. And I think like the thing that really annoys me about identity politics is there are always annoying people in like every group. And there are, annoying to online people that talk a lot, like in like weird ways that, like the online leftists, that's they're annoying. But that's obviously not like the vast majority of Democrats. And what they really mean when they say identity politics is just pointing out like, hey, it's weird there are a lot fewer women than men in this space, or like, this is your first Black executive, or you're like, why don't you don't have any gay people at this company? Like, that's what they mean by identity politics. Oh, you mean you don't think these people should have rights? Like, we should talk about how these people don't have rights. We should talk about, gay people not being able to marry, or the income gap and maternal mortality gap between like white and Black women. Like, it's That's what they mean by identity politics, not that one scene from what was it? What's fuck, I can't remember the show. The one where they just like there's so many pronouns in a row. It's like a 3-minute scene. It's making fun of this shit.
Yeah.
That's not what they're talking about. They are talking about just like the existence of pointing out, like, hey, this is not an even playing field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So right off the bat, they start with a pretty right-wing coded move. And like, yeah, I just I hate that they lead with that. I mean, the second one also makes me so mad. I mean, the funniest part to me about the point two, the faculty lounge problem, and like, I say this as like an elitely educated fucking PhD snob. Like that's just not true. And I think if we're talking about like Democrats being viewed as judgmental, out of touch, and dismissive, like sure, maybe there's like 12 people on MSNBC who you might view that way, or some really out of touch celebrities that say really dumb stuff. But I just don't think that's the stuff that people on the ground really care about. I do think sometimes there can be a bit of not pandering. What's the word I'm looking for? Like talking down to people and things, but
Like condescension.
yeah. And condescension. See, I started with like, I'm elite and educated, and then I don't know words.
Well, good thing we need to get out of academia and
See,
into police. In
only
number
basically,
6,
yeah.
we need to
Oh my
go.
God.
Working class people spend all of their time at church and police. This is unfucking believable. Anti-intellectualism is not the answer. But before I do that, we do need to talk about this. Number 5, fear of dissent within the party, which immediately says they need to just say no to anyone that dissents.
But I mean, first of all, that's not how political parties work. That's not even how family works. That's not even how like two-person relationships work. There always has to be room for dissent, debate, and discussion within parties. That's how things progress. That's how ideas
Well, there should be
move
that for
forward.
conservative dissent.
Of course. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like again, like we are just talking about this. There's so much emphasis on saying no to activists, saying no to leftist ideals, while at the same time, even if they're not saying it as explicitly right here, there's so much like bridge building with the right. Like again, fucking Liz Cheney was out here. They were saying like, hey, the Cheney says to vote for Harris. That's our person. And then like I don't know, the unpalatable far left ideas thing. They never really say what that is, do they?
Weird, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And I do think that what they're doing here, it's like the version of stuff that the right will say, right? They'll say, people hate these far left ideas. And you're like, what are the far left ideas? And it'll be something where like Harris said that prisons should pay for transition surgeries or whatever, which is the thing that like happened and happened for a few people. And I think that's good. Why not? But that's
I think
like
saying
not
we should just like provide healthcare to prisoners is like
yeah.
fine. I do think that like
But it's
survey
like
was like unnecessary, like weird, but
yeah,
not
but
the
like
main problem at the party here.
no, when you lead with that, it's like sure, but then if your far left ideals are things like everyone should have access to healthcare, most people are like, oh yeah, that rips. If you're like people should have access to higher education, oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, you should pay teachers more. You know what? I actually used to like my teachers. That sounds great. There's so many things like that. And again, we saw this in 2020 with the Sanders campaign. A lot of this stuff is really common sense.
Right.
And they are playing right into the hands of right-wing critiques. And this is why, and no one get mad at me for this. I'm going to use him for one example, but my boy Timmy Walls. When Timmy Walls was effective, besides just being a model Midwestern father, he did a good thing, which was like, and it was when he had his little moment of heat, his like 7 to 10 days where he was on fire, which is basically, yeah, but it was basically this. They were saying like crazy right-wing talking points for what the left is. And then he would just yell about how like paying teachers, giving kids school lunch, like letting people have access to healthcare. And he just like refused to play that game and was sort of like, shut the fuck up. We're just saying normal stuff that most normal people, when you take all the weird stuff away from it, they're pretty into it.
My favorite tactic with this, like talking to just like people in person about like right-wing talking points when they're like, I don't think we should have like Medicare for all. And I'm like, but why? And then if they're like, well, it's just it's a lot of money. And I'm like, yeah, but why shouldn't some people have healthcare? And then if you just keep asking, eventually there's like most people, unless they're just soulless, and honestly, there's like a respect is the wrong word, but I do prefer when someone is just like, yeah, I believe this thing, instead of pretending that they have a soul.
Yeah.
um, it's it's just like it's all common sense. And in some
Yeah.
cases, like you do come to the conclusion where that's how I genuinely like stopped being conservative. I was,
Mhm.
16. I was like, wait, why do I think this thing? What
Yeah.
is that actually true? Let's
But
keep going.
more, yeah. But just to like speak to your experience, like, and that's why more and more people are going to fall into like the conservative rabbit hole if that's the only party that's giving them a narrative for why things feel shit in their life and giving them solutions to it. It sucks.
Exactly. Um, all
Back
right.
to it.
So we've got the Democratic Party is this is so fucking insane. They literally just listed 7 points where they reacted to Republican talking points, and they're like, we're too reactionary, we're not proactive enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, also
Also,
the
I
point
like how
before
this
it
is the only
too.
thing we say.
Wait, terms like pregnant people and Latinx
I
alienate
never
working
stop
class.
saying pregnant people and Latinx. That's all I say. It's getting bad.
Do people care? Like, I mean this kind of genuinely. Like, working class voters, shout yourself out in the chat. Like, does it upset you if someone says pregnant person? I don't know. I feel like people don't care that much.
I think women are people. I'm very
Yeah.
brave.
But then I don't know. I don't want to be associated with any of this, guys. I'm neither here nor there on any of this. I'm right in the middle. But
Of women being people.
we have women being people. I'm más o menos. But with the pregnant people and Latinx thing, it again plays into this thing where it's like, what are leftist ideas like pronouns and linguistic signifiers? I'm a hot tar roofer, and the only one Latinx. I was gonna fucking see what they don't say. I mean, Krista.
That's like
Well,
the overwhelming response I've gotten from like Latino people, but
yeah.
I've
I'm
like
gonna.
besides like online arguments, I've never heard someone get like mad about saying this is a pregnant person.
Well, yeah, the Latinx thing. Just to virtue signal, my best friend's Colombian, and I like said it. You said it to him once, and he was kind of like, "Dog, what are you doing?" Like, that's not a word that we say. So again, those are the people who get mad at that, anyways. It's getting crazy in the chat. But yeah, again, like when I mean, so I think point 7, when it says allowing the far left to define the party, they're not allowing the far left to define the party. They're allowing what they're doing right here is allowing the right wing caricature of what the left is define everything they're doing.
Also, I love this idea of like activist groups exist to promote their single issue and raise money around it, not make Democrats electable. Once you get elected, what are you going to do? Like, what issues do you care about? Because those activist groups are often the ones that are bringing it up, are the ones that hold you accountable. And frankly, I think every single politician should be like, I mean, obviously this is unrealistic, but as we talked about with idealism, I think every politician should, in a perfect world, be like, hold me accountable.
Yeah.
You should want that if you actually want to represent the people. But if this is just about you and your personal power, then yeah.
Yeah, because it's almost like it's a jobs program where people just want to get the job, and then when they have the job, they want to do the bare minimum to keep the job and fundraise to have the job. And then if you try to take their job, they'll act like they want their job just enough to try to keep you from having their job. Oh wow.
Can we talk about
Takeaways? Yeah. Oh, my Democrats are not trusted by the working class and the economy.
Democrats are seen as hostile to success, indifferent to people's desire to attain wealth, while reflexively attacking wealthy business leaders instead of promoting economic mobility and aspiration.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
again, like the framing here is just so wild. I don't know. Like,
Would you
I feel,
believe that Third Wave is sponsored by a bunch of like financiers
yeah,
that it gets so much bank money?
it just feels like they're making up a guy and they're mad at the guy that they made up.
That's
Because
all of this.
even the most progressive members of the Democratic Party, I don't know, like the type of wealthy people you hear them critiquing is like 70 to 120 weird tech dudes. And then past that, it's like, I feel like the whole point is like access to wealth for more people. And all of these mechanisms that get discussed. Like, what is the point of like having universal health care so people don't go into medical debt? What's the point of having access to education so people don't have to, like, so many of the mechanisms are sort of the far left policies, and maybe they can be like framed better, but inherently aim at making people wealthier. But there's the American problem again of everyone thinks they're like a millionaire in waiting.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is I am.
No, you are in particular.
Yeah, I am.
I could see it. I'm not lying, guys. People in the chat should say this. I could see a world where by the age of 34, Kat has wealth.
No,
I'm not going to say like insane wealth, but like wealth.
I think everyone should have like a little wealth. Like I want to have like a little house that Heater can chase birds in through the window.
I want Heater to have a house. I don't want birds in the house though. Jesus
No,
Christ.
I want her to chase them in the window. I want a big window so she can go back and forth watching them like she does on the TV watching the birds.
And listen, everyone deserves that. So I'm just like, so over prioritization of social issues.
Wait, I do have a question about this is unrelated, but I want to get everyone's opinion. I really want to see Heater chase a butterfly. And I thought, you can get caterpillars and like raise them in your house. Would it be really cruel to?
Yes, 100%. Because Heater's going to catch the butterfly and fucking kill it.
But okay. Well,
no one say in the chat. I want to see someone own it and say that you want a cat you want Cat to raise animals for the sole purpose of being
one butterfly,
one butterfly,
because she chases bugs and it's really cute.
But like, get a ugly bug at least, not a butterfly.
Okay, man. What ugly bug can I raise for her to scamper after?
You have a spider.
Chat, let me know.
Roaches. Everyone encourage Cat to get a roach nest in.
Yes, it's hard up here. Like in an apartment that's not like the first 3 floors.
It's so hard to get pest infestations.
You can't get pet infestations.
I don't like the
butterflies don't live long anyways. Thank you for defending me here.
Oh my god, what a bunch of sycophants. Oh my god, of course.
I just want to do it like once. But maybe not. This was all a bit. I definitely don't want to do that. Let's talk about this.
Yes.
Oh yeah, subscribe to Heater's Patreon. If I did ever do that, hypothetically, I would definitely put it on the Patreon. It's $1 a month, and you can see her every single day.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna be not even devil's advocate here, but like I'll be fair and say like this chunk of bullet points, like there's some stuff here that's like not wrong. In that, like I think they probably want to aim someplace different than I would want to aim. But like I do think one of the reasons
I think there's no clear economic vision.
That's exactly the one I'm thinking of. Is like that is true. They want something different. Like they probably want some like weird like soft capitalism with the human face. Everyone can be a CEO type thing. But it is clear. Like if you were to ask someone what do Democrats want for the economy, I don't know. I know what some individual members of the party might want, but I don't think there's any unifying vision. And you can have a unifying.
I know the GOP vision. And it's a technocracy. It's an oligarchy with like 5 billionaires that get to control everything.
Because they're just doing it. They're just literally doing it.
Yeah.
We can just see them doing it and be like, oh, that's what they want.
I also think like they're really bad at showing, like explaining why regulations are good and like being like, hey, this is like Lena Khan was really good at just like making things clear. But I think, this is a lot of really GOP messaging.
Oh, it keeps going.
They want voters to be rich. Oh yeah. Climate policy viewed as anti-growth.
How is it going to grow if the planet's on fire, guys?
I was randomly in I randomly met Tom Steyer, who like, if y'all remember, he ran for president in 2016. He was one of the Democrats. He's like a single issue climate change candidate. He's a billionaire though, which but I was like, what are we doing with climate change here? Like what do you think is going to happen? He's like, I think the dumbest thing is not presenting this as like a way for rich people to make more money and be like, look at how much fucking money is in here to try to like force them, like gaslight them into doing climate change policy. And I was like, honestly,
that's what Musk used to do. That was like part of the Elon Musk get rich thing. If you look at the way he used to talk about shit when he started the car company, I'm not even going to say its name, but when he started the car company, it was all about that.
Yeah.
And now the guy that owns the battery car company is a part of administration that's trying to cut back any incentives to create EVs.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really
I
cool.
mean, and I guess like so the break room versus the boardroom thing. I mean, I do think that the Democrats have a weird obsession with famous people. And listen, I don't want to like, flex privilege right here, guys, but I'm currently in Los Angeles, California. The Hollywood Hills
Wow.
beckon me from, I think, that way or something like that. Most
Which way
like
is west?
fuck.
Do you have a compass?
I think that way.
Wow.
That way.
Real mountain man, Michael Burns.
Yeah, but these people are idiots. Most celebrities are idiots, and many of them are idiots in a way that I don't blame them for because they've been in their little bubbles and their little pockets and stuff like that. But they're not really that relatable. I guess they're a little bit aspirational. But I do think the leverage that the party has given, and you see this whenever there's like a convention, they just announce like which famous people are going to be there, and it's like, did you hear Beyonce? We might get Beyonce there, or whatever. I don't know. I do think that is weird, and I do think again, like, bless you. And again, bless you again. There are like a lot of interesting voices that are working with us. Again, it's not like the right does a much better job. They have the Kid Rocks and the Ted Nugents, but I guess you can say that the right has done a better job of identifying more, I guess, organic voices and online folks and stuff like that who are having an influence and then like putting their arm around them.
I would say counterpoint with like online. I think the strength of the right's online movement is like, your Daily Wires, your Charlie Kirks, etc., is that they've successfully criticized the party and didn't have like they've made the Republican Party scared of them. And so instead of like them putting their party putting their arm around those
Yeah.
types of, characters, those characters took that arm, yanked it out of the socket, and put it around themselves. Not
That's a
like
good
Kid
one.
Rock. He's dumb.
Yeah. I thought your point was going to be that they picked the most handsome and charming men the world has ever seen to lead their movement. No, I think that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's see. Oh my God, there's still more.
Yeah, here are how to connect culturally.
This sounds so weird. This sounds like a bunch of rich people being like, when you talk to poors, here's 5 steps for how to look
I
a
really
poor in
like
the eye.
how much they talk about like farms, main streets, tailgates, gun shows, churches. Like I said this in my video, but it genuinely feels like they watched one episode of King of the Hill and they're like, all right,
Yeah.
all of America should be Dale. And they just did not take the point of King of the Hill. And before somebody says I'm like some out of touch coastal liberal or whatever, first off, I live in Chicago. Second, I'm from Dallas, Texas, where King of the Hill is set. These people have never been outside of their little bubble. It's insane.
I love traditional American imagery to embrace patriotism, traditional American farms, main streets, eagles,
Couldn't
flag,
think of a
jean
third thing.
jackets, like
Milkshakes.
and also the use plain language and avoid jargon. This is part of the problem. Like, and this is the thing that Democrats have done. They talk to people like they're fucking idiots, and people are not idiots. People are, even if they don't have access to your particular language game, they're thoughtful human beings. You can just talk to them like like this is just like, can you imagine with a note card being like, hello, member of working class, have you seen any main streets today? Like, what are we doing? I mean, I love to like the avoid overly moralistic and condescending messaging, like allow candidates to express personal faith and values.
I don't know people that like candidates that feel that way except progressive candidates. Also, I like this acknowledge that people have multiple identities rather than reducing them to one label. I feel like it's the performative like kneeling during the George Floyd protests. It's like the trying to trot out these people that are the neolibs, like the centrists, the moderate Dems that are like, this is what people want, instead of the actual progressive people are like, it's important to have different identities. And that's why we're just like elevating them rather than making it about that,
Yeah. I mean, I do love as well when it says like build a moderate media thing. Like, that exists. That is the thing that exists. It has
That's the
existed
thing that exists.
for many, many years. And when we talk about, again, push back against far left staffers and groups that exerted disproportionate influence on policy and messaging, that hasn't happened. Ban far left candidate questionnaires and refuse to participate in forums that create
This is
ideological
literally
prejudice.
about one ACLU survey for
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
It's like, so you mean the ACLU is far left? That's what you're saying.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, even just say that, like, rather than being that broad, if you want to say, like, hey, this ACLU thing kind of fucked us, let's avoid stuff like that. Sure, sure.
Yeah.
But just say it.
Just say it instead of being like the far left. Also, it like this makes it sound like they don't do anything except fill out surveys. Like they're just every single day is surveys, and that's not what's happening here.
That's what people
Oh
care
my
about.
God, we're still going here. Fuck.
Engage with the working class.
This is all just exact. Oh, embrace masculinity. Amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
Finally, alphas like me can have.
We're gonna
a
try to
place
recruit
in the
Andrew
party.
Tate.
Oh my God, the
More
masculinity
rapists in the party.
oh boy, this is the shit that like Zuckerberg has been flouting and stuff like that. I don't like that.
This is so pathetic.
Oh man.
This is so pathetic. All right, let's look at this because I
Yeah.
feel like economic trust is going to be fun. Focus on better wages instead of minimum wage. We shouldn't even let them know that there's a minimum. We should keep it as vague as possible. No one should know how much they are legally entitled to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Don't allow giveaways.
Wait, I just want to be fair here because when hordes of far right people watch this, I want them able to clip some stuff. So 3, 2. I think that they have, but one of the points here, the avoid dismissing economic anxiety, speak directly to the concerns of working class voters with tangible solutions. I don't think that's unfair. And I do think, like, when it says as progressives, we all discussed among our friends and family how expensive things were, but politically only wanted to talk about how much better things are getting. That is just true. Like, they really did biff it. The economic data has shown that things weren't getting better and they weren't awesome. And I think speaking to people's economic anxieties is good. I'm not trying to be like lived up here. I'm just at least acknowledging that every now and then they're accidentally saying something that's not idiotic.
But also, I do wonder why it says as progressives we in this thing. I'm very confused about this.
Yeah.
But no, I completely agree. The dismissing economic anxieties part. I also think that the answer isn't just being like everything is only like in 2022, we had the same thing where Republicans were certain that abortion would have no impact. And it's like, maybe we should just listen to voters on what they're concerned about and not try to say it's only one thing and not the other.
Also, the policies is giveaway things like, is universal basic income been a big thing?
That's a handout, Michael.
But that's like not even a thing. There was the one guy talked about that in 2020.
Yeah, we don't have universal basic income.
Andrew Yang, yeah. And even like student loan forgiveness, it's so easy to frame that because you can just be like, oh yeah, we're the only country in the world that does this. We collect interest on student loans. Yeah. Oh my God, there's
stop
so
demonizing
much.
wealth and corporations.
Engage with business podcast. Like earn your leisure.
Baby, Democratic Party is all about all in now.
Oh my God. Be pro aspiration and pro capital. I mean, here's the thing too. This is like giving the game away to an extent. I mean, not even reading between the lines. Like this is a clearly pro capitalist, pro imperialist, pro American exceptional document. And all that is here. And it just sort of depressing that the notion of even questioning those tenets is bad.
Real quick, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but thank you.
Whoa.
This is so generous. This is so kind. Thank you.
Get healthcare, Kat.
Yeah, I can afford my medication this month. Cool. Thank you.
Let me just say, if you're watching this and you have like familial or inherited wealth or something like that, just like buy Kat healthcare. Fuck it. Why not? Like if you have some grandpa that like, or like a great grandpa that made a lot of money in the South and no one says why, but
buy
you know
me
why.
A butterfly.
Take his money. No, I'm trying to get you healthcare. You're trying to do butterfly genocide. Okay, how about this? I like showcase working class voices in general. That's good.
Yeah.
Right.
But I want to know what they really think working class is, because I think they only think it's one guy named Terry who works at a steel mill.
Yeah,
I don't think
they want like Zoolander's brothers. or
Yes,
something like that.
exactly. I think that's really what all this comes down to on the economic shit is they don't understand that like we don't have a middle class anymore. And if your life would be upended by missing like more than 2 paychecks, you are working class. Like you
Well,
are not.
and you know, I feel I'll give another caveat here because I'm about to say a Walls thing again.
Uh-huh.
Let me just say this ahead of time. Walls has horrible policy ideas about Palestine. It's not good. He's bad on that. He's proto-Zionist in these things. I don't like it. I don't like that. I just want to tell you that. No one get mad at me. But during the election, More Perfect Union, great YouTube channel, did a video with Tim Walz where they sat him down with voters in like I think Western Pennsylvania, and he talked to them about like farm stuff. Now, do I know a lot about farm stuff? I do not. But was Tim Walz like, hello, dirty worker people? No, he just like talked to people about policies related to their life as industrial or agricultural laborers, and he did it as a normal person, and it went over well. And there's just ways to do this, and there are members of the party who have been working class. There are members of the party right now who have had real jobs. Because like if you were a teacher before you ran, if you were a bartender, a server, a social worker, like there are many real jobs. Now, of course, we know there's a lot of people that are just like have been elites their entire lives. But like there's ways to do this and people have tried to do it. But like it's not something like the Walls example I'm giving. That happened because a YouTube channel did it. Like, you know what I mean? That wasn't something they were putting front and center. It wasn't something that the party was promoting. Some YouTube guys. I love YouTube guys.
I love YouTube guys, including us. Real quick, Axios, roughly a dozen Democratic disruptors, including Stansbury, Crockett, Frost, and Dexter, were called into a come to Jesus meeting this morning. The top 3 House Democratic leaders were present. Were present. Jeffries, Clark, and Aguilar. That's fucked. That's really fucked up.
So they're in trouble also, because they're the little signs?
Michael.
Someone else donates 6 that says healthcare.
Guys, this is so nice. Seriously, you don't have to go get yourself healthcare. If you don't have healthcare, please buy yourself Motrin or an inhaler. What other things do we have?
Your healthcare. Call your company out, cancel it, and say, I would like all of that money sent to Kat's house. Where is that?
Just give me your policy.
Chicago, Illinois. Wait. So just to be clear then.
They were just present. They weren't pregnant. I misspoke, but I do think it was funny to say pregnant.
So the leadership of the Democratic Party, what we're meant to read here, you know the stuff better than I, you know the language. They got in trouble and they got yelled at because they wore shirts and held up signs and silently walked out. That's like, they're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And they're now being called by Jeffries. Okay. So let's, just to make this clear to everyone, what Jeffries is doing, I feel like Hakeem Jeffries seems to be really ineffective. It's not, there's a plan here, and it's essentially only talk about like Medicaid because they know that polls, well, they all they do is look at polls and just press enter, or like refresh to see what's the next thing they can do. And right now they're just like, I guess we have Medicaid. It's not controversial. So just wait till 2026. So that way he can be the House Majority Leader. That's it. That's the entire plan, is make Hakeem Jeffries House Majority Leader instead of House Minority Leader. And don't really complain about Trump that much in the meantime, because he thinks that Trump has a mandate when he doesn't.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That's also too, it's one of those things where, you know, and this is my advice to any kids out there who are watching this on their phones under their desk at school. It's like, if you're ever going to do something where you know you're going to get in trouble, go all in. You know what I'm saying? Like if like Frost and Co were going to get in trouble anyways, I'm just saying they could have gone way harder. But you know what I'm saying? And I mean, Al Green shows us.
And like, if they're getting in trouble as them just like being lectured by Hakeem Jeffries, like I think we talked about this the first time I went on your stream of like, when I was in high school, I had a stalker. I talked about it publicly, like in front of a bunch of students, and I walked out, and like I think it was the head of like student faith, because I went to Catholic school, followed me out.
Oh, yeah.
The only other student that followed me was my buddy Carter. And neither of us got in trouble. Like, we got an email to our parents being like, we are concerned about this, but like, there were no consequences. And these people could be standing up for us, or at least making us feel like we're not alone. Like, we get you can't pass like tons of progressive policy right now. We understand that. But standing up matters because your constituents are watching you and they're like, do they even give a fuck about us? And if you want to keep your job, you better start.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, like, to be really blunt here, for all of those people doing this protest, like, the consequences are minimal. They're not going to beat the shit out of you. Like, the Capitol Police are not going to beat the shit out of a sitting congressperson. Honestly, oh my God.
And if they do, it's a front page story. Thank you, Dean.
That's good. And then
like,
put
if
one
we
of the
get
younger
beat up,
guys out.
or like if just a random person gets beat up by Capitol Police, which, like, you know, like, it means a lot less than a sitting congressperson.
Yeah. And it's
so
just,
use your body. Use your body that is apparently more important than the rest of ours, just inherently, because you're up there, to make a point for us, to like try to gum the works for us. Put it in the fucking cog. Lose an arm.
Use the privilege that you have. Well, I don't want to. Okay, don't lose an arm.
Lose a metaphorical arm, Michael. Don't be dramatic.
Arm. I'm a drama queen. Everyone knows it. Sorry, I'm just looking at these things again. Wait, I like under 9, embrace populism thoughtfully, critique corporate excess and corruption, but avoid an anti-capitalist stance. And again, like you said, like, who funds this? A bunch of business boys, right?
Yeah, a bunch of business boys, a bunch of special business boys.
They are special. Okay, so that's wow.
Thank God. Thank fucking God.
Well, so here's the question. You're more of a, political insider, Washington elite, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's me.
How much real influence do you think Third Way and this sort of thinking has within the party?
I think that the influence it has is more like tangential because it's funded by really wealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like, there is far more influence there than, like, smaller progressive think tanks. There's the stuff they're talking about with the far left, like, that's not the influence here. It's big wealthy donors, which are also funding Third Way. And they're all working towards this uniparty that in many cases does exist. It's this idea that, we can't have this. We shouldn't have Medicare for all. Like, Third Way has been very critical of Medicare for all. And I also think besides the financial incentive to have donors, there's also this this need by the Democrats. A lot of them really want to be liked by conservatives. Growing up conservative, I feel it's just so obvious that a lot of them don't understand like what the appeal of conservatism is. And it's not, for some, it's like outright hatred and racism and stuff like that. But for others, it's this feeling of being the adult in the room. Like, that's how I saw it as a child. It's like, oh, well, I want to be responsible. I want to be the one that make sure we're like handling our finances well in this country. We don't want people to, be too spoiled or whatever, which is like fucked up, but that's how you saw it. It wasn't a negative. It was you had to be the bad parent. And I think that's, you talk yourself into this, like we talked about earlier, denying yourself basic rights, denying yourself, trying to talk yourself down from what you actually deserve, which is just like a baseline of not only surviving, but thriving. And instead, these types of people that listen to Third Way, that want to, instead of stoke their existing base that's not enthused, or encourage people who are just like not political at all, or instead of like trying this weird cosplay shit, it would be a slam dunk to go to these communities and no strings attached, be like, let me try to find you a job if Trump got you fired. Let me, you are struggling with healthcare since these Medicaid cuts. Let's try to, have a food drive so you can afford to feed your family.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. And instead, they are just trying to cater to a caricature of what they think this like imaginary, moderate, conservative voter that loves Trump, but thinks the Democratic Party is like too. I don't even know what the actual goal is. It sounds Third
like
Way is like a siren song, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's a siren song of a caricature.
Because it does sound like their goal, to an extent, is to make up for
this is also part of it.
Yeah, countries about harmony. Yeah, that's a great point, Dean Machine. Dean Machine, you look cool in your picture, Dean.
I wish cool as fuck.
I like cool looking guys. Yeah. Shouts to Dean. But yeah, it does feel like sometimes that sort of vision is like, all you gotta do is get 10% of the most centrist people on the right.
Right.
and we got to get them to vote for us, and then we're good. And if we can sort of like build that centrist coalition, then we're good forever, which again feels like that is why any concern, and again too, like the things that get thrown out for being leftist are in many ways really moderate or centrist relative to the rest of the world. But
Absolutely.
yeah, and it
It's
just,
I think that there is a place for, like, when I say conservatism, I mean, we're all agreeing on a baseline here. Like I said,
yeah,
grow it like, there is a time and place, if everything is all set, like, if we're good, if we got all those idealistic goals out of the way, I think there is a time and place to be like, "Hey, like, let's try to balance this budget more." But we are not anywhere close to that, and you have to agree on very basic human rights before it becomes liberal and conservative or right and left.
yeah,
This is just the shit Trump is doing is despicable. It's so antagonistic and it's aimed at ruining the lives of everyone who is not a billionaire.
yeah. I mean, it still shocks me that they haven't, I guess, haven't thought about what works structurally about the Trumpism thing. And by that, I mean not like the foul shit he says and does, but the way in which he's gone about it and the way in which some random guy from the TV, which he, to a certain point was a random guy from the TV, has co-opted one of the largest political parties in the world to his own will. Like that's literally what he did. I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but like he did. He said that the Republican Party, mine now, and he made it his now, and he's in control of the thing. Like he did some stuff that's not dumb strategically in terms of how he gained power in the party. And it's weird to me that I guess more left-leaning Democrats haven't taken that message, and instead they keep trying to do the opposite.
I think like what's also confusing to me is this need to like stick to this party line when it's very clear over the like this millennium, every single major political figure has been one that's just like, fuck it, I'm going to run and we're going to try. I mean, Barack Obama and Donald Trump are like the two big figures of our time who like took the White House by surprise, who were the underdogs. And it's because they said like Hillary was supposed to be the nominee in 2008 and Obama instead came in and said what he really thought and moved shit to the left, and people like that. And it's the same with Trump, but kind of like the mirror version of that. Like he said what he thought. People are looking for the ideas in this like survey thing or whatever their takeaway for third way. The ideas in there are so close to getting to the point when they talk about like working class voters
Yeah.
and trying to appeal. It's people want honesty, or at least the appearance of honesty, or just something different.
And I think this is the issue, or at least one of the things that stands out to me and one of their problems, because like you are right, there are elements of that document, I was pointing this out before, that are pointing in the right direction. It feels like one of the problems is they set up certain boundaries that are immovable. So like the prioritization of the free market is immovable. We can't critique that. That has to stay. An emphasis on militarism and policing, that has to stay. There's these sort of goalposts they've decided on. And I think something you see from the Trump side is there are no sacred cows. Like there are things that Trump will critique or go against that are things that the Republicans have been all about for years, but they just push hard and no one cares. And that's the problem, because if you
he'll just switch like TikTok.
Yeah, for sure. Or the fucking tariffs and stuff. But if you want to show that you really prioritize working people, then you have to say like, when we say we're prioritizing working people, we're not prioritizing you only in so much as it works within the machinations of free market capitalism. We're saying we're prioritizing working people. And if that means we need to critique the system that is making your life shitty, then we're going to critique the system. That means if we're going to critique military spending, we're going to critique the military. Doesn't mean we got to shit on veterans or military service members. It means we just got to look at the fucking, like you said, the soap and the airplanes. Is that what Elizabeth Warren did or said? Also, I'm just really... Also, guys, I can't believe this. No, I'm just really... I get to be on a stream with Kat that Elizabeth Warren was on. I feel like the box on my face is in right now, Elizabeth Warren was in that box as well. And that just feels really special.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, shout out to Elizabeth Warren.
I think Elizabeth Warren should feel special because her face is in a box that your face is now in.
Well, Liz, let's get a beer in Boston and chat sometime. But yeah, I guess that would be like my big thing there. But thank you so much for having me. I know we got to wind down.
No, I mean, we don't have to wind down, but like, I also feel like you deserve a break because you've been, this is insane.
I'll do a few more minutes.
This is
Wait,
so
average. Fucking
guys.
go, fan of Peter. Fucking let's go, fan of Peter.
I'm
Cat is
like,
out
hold
here.
on. I'm
Cat is
genuinely
doing the
like,
work.
thank
Good.
you.
Take it in. That's people helping people. It's beautiful stuff. This is
really,
really
really
nice.
nice. Wow, I'm very, very moved. It feels like a nice
Hell yeah.
place to end, but I do before we do, I'd like to hear one good thing that happened to you this week.
Oh my God, where do I begin? Okay, so my daughter has a new thing. When she takes naps or goes to bed, she pats her hand, and I have to lay down next to her crib. So she kind of turns and looks at me, and I turn at her, and she has a couple favorite songs. They're both Grateful Dead songs. I didn't force it on her. It happened organically. And I lie on the floor and I sing my daughter to sleep, and it's the illest shit ever. It makes me so happy.
That is so sweet.
Is
Oh my
awesome.
God. I feel like my
She
entire body is
ripped.
just like filled with sugar right now between like you and like all the nice people on the stream and Fan of Heater. Like that's so
Good
sweet.
vibes. Really good vibes.
Do you have
What's
like a
something good
little
that
like
happened to you this week?
do you have like a little Grateful Dead like onesie for her?
She had 3 Grateful Dead shirts before she was born.
Oh, wait, what are the 2 songs?
Bird Song and Ripple, which she says Bird Song and Whipple.
Oh my God. That's so
Yeah.
cute.
Wait, can you say a good thing that happened to you this week?
Yeah,
Besides
absolutely.
having an awesome community that cares about
Yeah.
you. So it had to have happened before the stream started.
Yeah, okay. Um, uh, one sec.
Oh no, I don't like how long this is taking.
No, I had like a lot of stuff happen
Okay,
this week,
good.
and I just like my mind is blanking.
Okay.
Oh my God, actually, yeah, it was Heater's birthday. It was her gotcha day. And so we had so much fun with her. We got
Amazing.
her this toy that felt like I feel like a lot of cat toys are dog toys that are shrunk down, and cats don't really like them, don't want to play with them. But this one felt like it was made for them, and it's like this crinkly mat, and it has like a little seam inside, and then there's a ball that lights up and rolls around, and you put it in the mat. So that way, and then you like trap it in there. So it just rolls around there, and she chases it on the mat, and it sounds like crinkly. And she has so much fun. And she's like jumped on the credenza to stare at it from above so that way she can pounce on it. I've never seen like her little walnut brain work so hard.
Okay, you know what?
It's been delightful.
She can get one butterfly. I love that. That was sweet. She can get one butterfly.
Okay, awesome. Michael, where can people find you?
Oh, there. I have a personal YouTube channel. I host on a place called Wisecrack. I'm on Blue Sky, and I'm on the other stuff, but I don't even want to shout out the other stuff because the guys that own the stuff are so bad. Let's go, people in the chat. So yeah, you guys can find me if you want to find me. And thanks so much for having me on, Kat.
Yeah, I had so much fun. And let's hang whenever you're in town or something like that, or we can go to somewhere entirely. Let's go to Belize and hang out there.
So let's start with Chicago, and then we'll go.
Okay, what about Saturn?
We're gonna start in Chicago. Probably
then
north side of the
Belize,
city,
then
someplace.
Saturn.
As far as the West Loop, I'll go West Loop. Maybe we go Humboldt Park if there's an interesting tavern we want to check out. But let's not go crazy here.
No, seriously though, thank you for joining, Michael, and thank you
Yeah.
everyone else for joining. I'm gonna go take a nap, and I hope everyone has a great day. I am also gonna like tear up a little bit. Bye, guys. Oh, wait, I need to do not leave studio. One sec.
Well,
End stream. That's what we do.